Oh, that was hard. I titled that video, A Life Well Lived, to represent the wonderful marriage that my mom had to my dad and the amazing friends and family that have just lavished such support on our family and have loved her so well and have loved us so well. So thank you. Those two last songs are John Denver songs, and they were my parents' favorite songs. And they used to toast at sunset, and they would play those songs, and they would thank God for his goodness in their life. My name is Caryn. I'm the eldest daughter. My brother and sister are here, Mike and Katie. Do you guys want to come on up? So we are standing up here to share some wonderful things about our mom that made her so special. So Mike's going to start.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, friends, family, little boys, little girl. Thank you guys for definitely coming to celebrate Judy Dabo, my mom, and her accomplishments. Really, her life. What you see before you is probably the biggest accomplishment. Again, my name is Mike. And her favorite baby boy, I'm sure of that one. No, truly her greatest accomplishment was, I'm sure, getting to heaven, and that's the reason she couldn't be here today. So that was her goal in life, was to be a good person, a devout Christian, and that she was. There's no doubt in my mind that she's looking down and she's upset she's not here. She should be here for the party, and we should do this more often instead of just when somebody passes. It's very unfortunate that she did, and it, I guess, was her time. My mom was big into time, and if you've ever come to Orlando for dinner or just said you're going to come this week, she needed to know that specific time, and it's really, she wanted to be there to welcome you with open arms, to host, to have a drink ready for you, and have some food even though you had just eaten. She's going to force it down you. I remember in high school she got my vegetarian girlfriend to eat a meatball because it was her meatball that my poor girlfriend had never tried before. But she ate it, and we broke up that next day. Anyways, my mom was definitely, she was a keeper. You wanted her on your side, always wanted her on your side because she had your back. She did in her own ways. She was also a keeper, and you should have seen the stuff we went through at the house. And I had mail duty, and I was going through it, trying to help out. And you know, when you donate to places, they send you stuff. And the stack, I kid you not, for like 2 days was this big. And the address labels and all the, hey Judith, hey Judy, thank you for giving, here we go. She gave to everybody. She gave her time. And she gave her energy. And I mean, it was amazing just at Cornerstone, where she took her last breath. She had donated there, and she loved the facility. When she was in that bus accident, it was, again, giving of her time and giving to the less fortunate people out there. And I think we can all really take time and some grace and do the same thing. It's what we want to do. It's what she would want to do. So I really, every time I wrote something down, I would go down this hole of things. But I'm going to keep it short and sweet because I know my sister here, number 2. Just buckle up. You might need an intermission for this. And but no, we really, really appreciate you guys coming. I mean, from the bottoms of our heart. You can see how much love she always just gave to everybody, and the shoulders you guys have offered for us to cry on, and you were just there for us, and we really, really appreciate it. I know my father does, and my sisters and I, and Jen and my 2 boys, thank you for being by us. This has been a long, long journey, and but we're ready for the next chapter, and this is a celebration of life. So, love you, Mom. We'll see you when we see you. All right. Next up, Catherine.
Thanks, Mike. I just have a short book I'm going to read to you all. It's only 62 pages, so don't worry. We'll be quick. Thank you all for being here for us, for being here for my mom. I wanted to share a little bit about her story because it's an incredible one. And truly, her story is about overcoming so many hardships in life. She had a really tough childhood that she endured. It wasn't necessarily a home full of love. There was abuse, there was emotional neglect, and she was the eldest of 5 and really had to step up and grow up far too young. So, I recall she didn't talk a whole lot about her childhood. If you knew, she kind of lived in the moment. But occasionally she would share stories, and I recall her saying that, for her 16th birthday, she asked her dad for a pound of butter. And that just shows, what little they had is that she wanted real butter for her birthday. I haven't checked any Christmas lists lately, but I'm pretty sure butter's not on the list. But she was a very determined and very hardworking and very smart person. And she was determined to move on from that life. She earned scholarships. She worked really hard, and she paid for herself her own way to get through college. She met Dad, put him through dental school, worked, and that was the woman that we knew, is that hardworking, independent person, working all day and coming home and making a meal every night. And we would sit at the dinner table and always wish we were going out to eat instead. But, that's what kind of person that she was, that was a role model to us. She was very no frills, no nonsense, very straightforward kind of person, not afraid to wear a pen all the time. She enjoyed very much the simple pleasures of life. If you knew my mom, you knew happy hour Chardonnay was like top of the list. You knew that, there's a lot of joy you can get from repurposing leftovers. Like, again and again, we're gonna see that shrimp. Yeah, baby, like different creative ways of those meals kind of resurfacing. You knew that she didn't waste anything. So we would, it's not a long drive. She'd come over and visit in Tampa, and she'd roll in with a cooler, and she'd have a half head of lettuce and milk in a jar, all those things, because it would have gone to waste if she left it. And of course now makes a lot of sense to me. I roll into Orlando, I got my leftovers, and then you all know there's half a jalapeno left and a lime, it's coming with me. So, she enjoyed those kind of simple things. But what's most impressive is that she broke that cycle of abuse, and she gave us a really good and structured and stable life and platform. And, it wasn't a time when you had a lot of therapy to work through things. She just figured out a way to do that on her own. And she kind of took that trauma and those issues, and she kind of locked them up tight and buried them down. She didn't burden people with it. She put up some really thick emotional armor, to kind of protect herself. And she created a really great life for us. And I think that's the most that I appreciate, was that kind of stable platform that she created. And that stability in the structure that allows children to really take flight. So I did bring this book because I wanted to read an excerpt from this book from Khalil Gibran that's about parents creating that structured, stable platform. Parents, you are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sets the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might so that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, For even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he also loves the bow that is stable. We're all going to miss a lot from her not being here. I'm going to miss calling and having them answer the phone as a team, having it on speakerphone, and hearing, all the fine details of my dad's stories be corrected all the time. I don't know if he went golfing Tuesday or Wednesday, but we're never going to know. Now, there's going to be like all kinds of inaccuracies that he's just going to get away with. And I don't know. So the real-time fact checker is no longer here. I'll miss that no matter what time you showed up at the house, she would say, "Can I make you a drink?" It could be 8 a.m. She's ready. She's ready to serve. She was just amazing like that. I'll miss leaving the house and getting a bunch of leftovers. You were not leaving the house without taking leftovers, and they were in the most random containers of old cottage cheese or container, a yogurt container, whatever. We used it because there was nothing going to waste. I'll miss that, when I would leave after a weekend, all weekend of being together, she would look at me and say, "When am I going to see you again?" Like she already missed me. So these last few weeks, though, it's been rough, but it hasn't been all bad because I've really enjoyed hearing stories and hearing your perspective and hearing and learning about my mom, not as my mom, but as a friend and as a wife. And that's been really incredible for me to kind of open up the aperture of how I saw her. There's lots of things that I wish I could ask her and have her talk to me in this last month, but I'm sure she wouldn't necessarily answer all of my questions. She might just sit up and look around and say, "I did good, and my job's done here, and I'll see you on the other side, and I'll have a drink ready for you."
So Katie said a lot of what I was going to say. It's not fair to go last. So my mom was a strong woman who overcame a traumatic upbringing. The abuse she suffered led her to do things like, she raised her 4 younger siblings. She worked really hard. She put herself through school, and she became a very independent woman. One of the greatest things that she did was she broke that cycle of abuse in our family. My siblings and I were well cared for. She loved us as best she could, even though she herself had never been told, "I love you." I'll always remember the sweet ways my mom would show me love. When I would come up with Hunter, she would come up behind me and she would stroke my hair, or she would braid it in 2 braids and tie it under my neck. Or she would have a meal ready even though I had already eaten. She would ask me to share a bowl of ICE, which was her way of saying ice cream. My mom cared about her family. She also cared about others. As my brother mentioned, my sister mentioned, she gave to a lot of charities. Whenever she would get a flyer, and apparently everybody knew she gave to charities because, as Michael mentioned, there was a huge stack of charities. So whenever she would get a charity, she would research it on the internet and she would decide how much she wanted to give. Ironically, not only did she die serving in her favorite charity, the Orlando Union Rescue Mission, but the place that she stayed in her final days, Cornerstone Hospice, was also a ministry that she gave to. She cared about people, and she knew her rare blood type was one that would save so many lives. So every 6 weeks, she would give blood faithfully. Even in her death, she wanted to be an organ donor. Not only did she love family and love others, but she cared about God. She was a faithful churchgoer that never missed a Sunday service. So today is a celebration because she is in heaven, not because she went to church every Sunday, not because she donated 8 gallons of blood in her lifetime, and not because she did charity work. She's in heaven because she loved Jesus. She believed Jesus was God's son. He came to earth. He lived the perfect life, and he died on a cross, taking her sins. So Jesus said, "I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live." So today, my mom would not want us to grieve as those who have no hope. She's in a place far more amazing than this, where God's word says there will be no more crying, no more death, no more pain, no more tears, for the old order of things have passed away. So we celebrate in our grief, and we can't wait for the day when we're going to be in heaven forever and we'll get to see her again. Until that day, we will honor her by loving our family and friends well, by pouring ourselves into the things that really matter in life and bring us joy and bring God honor. So here's to you, Mom, a life well lived.